the moon, then Neil Armstrong walked to the moon. One day we'll go back to the moon. Now we're talking about we'll have actually people living and working on the moon. Separate facts from fiction, what NASA is proposing and where we are.
So what we have in front of us is a pretty audacious plan, what we call the near impossible. We're working towards building humanity's first moon base. This is going to be our first outpost in deep space, which will take those first steps towards making us a truly interplanetary species. We want to learn to live and work off the surface of the Earth and test out the technologies that'll eventually take us to Mars.
Okay, big question. Why?
You know, there's a lot of reasons. One is just from a scientific standpoint, the South Pole is an incredibly interesting location. There's tall mountains, deep craters, long valleys and ridges. For example, there's an impact crater right at the exact South Pole. It's called Shackleton Crater, named after the famous Antarctic explorer. It's roughly the size of the Richmond city limits, about 12 miles in diameter, but incredibly, it's 2.5 times deeper than the Grand Canyon. So why is that important? Well, the way the sun works at the South Pole, it's always on the horizon of the moon. So in deep places like that, the sun never shines and it gets very cold. So over 4 billion years, material from the earliest days of the solar system have likely condensed there. And now it's just a 4 billion year old history book just waiting to be read. So our challenge at NASA is to figure out how to explore these really interesting places and learn about how the moon and the solar system evolved. It's also just a really great place to learn how to test out those technologies to live off planet for longer and longer periods of time. Eventually, we want to go back to the moon with people and then go on to Mars. And the South Pole is a great place to do that.
Do we actually have working groups planning on, again, I always tell me if I'm right or wrong on this. I love technology, but I realize if I'm just studying technology that's just being adapted by everybody right now, I'm already behind. I need to look. I'm not necessarily an innovator, but I always want to be an early user of something. So by the time I master it, everybody else is just discovering it. Do you do the same thing with NASA? I mean, where are you looking as far as mankind working and living on the moon?
Yeah, absolutely. For example, one of the biggest challenges of spaceflight in general is reducing weight. It's very difficult to get massive structures and habitats off the planet. So we always need to be looking for the state-of-the-art materials like composites and low weight metal alloys to reduce our mass. And these days, so much is about computing and software. So finding electronics that can survive the radiation environment, very harsh environment off planet, is something that we are constantly investing in and needing to find the best so we can get the best performance, but also we need highly reliable equipment that can't fail because there's no way to just immediately come back to Earth. It takes at least several days to get back. So we work across our industry, both in the U.S. and really across the world, to find the very best, and we take the best we can find and put them together into operating systems.
Does that have real world on Earth, on planet applications? Let's say you find this incredible alloy, you find something, that we would only think of in Star Trek or Star Wars. When you're able to develop that to go to the moon, to live on the moon, can that technology then benefit mankind on Earth?
Yeah, absolutely. Those investments that we make that are necessary to fly in space, they always find their way back into industry. Now, certainly the applications may be different and they evolve, but that investment that gets made up early on almost always pays dividends. And so being able to have the companies invest their own research and development dollars in addition to supporting the moon base is kind of a win-win for NASA or for U.S. industry.
Okay. So if all goes well, funding's there, support's there, technology catches up, where would you see us in 25 years as far as who would be living on the moon, who would be working on the moon? What type of activities could you foresee as a visionary of what moon life would be like?
So the first people that are going to return are the explorers. They are going to scout out the land and find the places that are most ideal for building a permanent settlement or outpost. So those are the scientists, the engineers, the pilots that are used to operating in difficult, harsh, dangerous environments. But as we get more and more experience, we'll transition to a larger swath of the population. Our hope is to have more and more people living there for longer times. Initial missions will be on the order of a week long with a couple people, but as we can put in place more and more habitation systems, we'll be able to fly the different the geologists, more scientists, the biologists. Really, it's a wide swath of people who can be explorers and take part in NASA's exploration program.
What would be the biggest challenge that mankind would face trying to establish the first ever moon base for NASA?
So we take for granted all the incredible resources that are available to us here on Earth, whether it's air, water, radiation protection,
Right.
shelter. All of those things don't exist on the moon. It is an incredibly harsh environment, both hot and cold, no atmosphere, no liquid water, no building materials. So all of those things we need to first bring with us. And that's the difficulty of being able to launch off of Earth reliably and affordably. But then we need to take advantage of what the moon can offer. So there are technology demonstration programs underway right now of how we can use the moon's materials so that we don't have to carry everything with us.
Interesting. I mean, this is all fascinating. Listen, I would love to live on the moon because I'd only weigh about 45 pounds compared to what we
Sounds
have here
great.
in the States. All right. Can we personally, I just have a couple questions I wanted to ask you, and I really appreciate you answering all of my questions here because it is kind of fascinating. We're talking with Jim Geffrey from NASA. I would read his title, but it's so long we'd run out of time for our interview. When you were a kid, what inspired you to go work at NASA? I told everybody you went to Notre Dame. I thought that was interesting because we might live under a dome. You went to school under a golden dome. How did you decide I want to work at NASA? I want to be a part of this.
You know, I can actually pinpoint an exact moment in my life. I've always had an engineering type of inclination, but when I was watching the movie Apollo 13 with friends in high school, that was just a lightning striking kind of moment for me. I saw what they were doing to rescue those astronauts, and I thought, you know, I need to be a part of NASA's return to the moon.
So as a teenager, you go, I want to be part of this. I'm going to go study college. I'm going to get my advanced degrees. And one day, my dream, like some kids, I want to play at Yankee Stadium. Some people, I want to play at Lambeau Field. You say, I want to make a difference at Johnson Space Center.
Absolutely.
What's it like having that childhood dream come true?
Oh, it's been fantastic. The challenges every day keep me excited and wanting to go to work, address those. It has really been a great journey so far.
That's amazing. All right, you brought it up, Jim. Then I'm going to I'm going to have to ask you a couple questions here. Star Wars, Star Trek.
I'm a Star Wars guy.
Okay, Star Wars over Star Trek. Okay, number two, since you mentioned Apollo 13, which starred Tom Hanks and Kevin Bacon, great movie. Do you have any other space movies that somebody might want to watch this weekend that might inspire them to think more about space?
You know, another one that I really like is Interstellar. I think it came out in 2014. Great movie.
Okay, what about The Right Stuff?
Oh, another great one. Earliest days of the space program.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by that. I like when they have the big barbecue down in Texas and all the astronauts come in with John Glenn. Wally Schirra was a Sigma Pi. I was a Sigma Pi, so we're very proud that we had one of the 7 Apollo astronauts. early in the program. I always think that movie is fascinating because it also shows those that wanted to go up in space, those that didn't choose to go up in space, and the dangers. Because we just take it for granted right now. Space, go ahead, jump in a rocket. It's not going to mean anything. There is danger that goes into this, and you do, like you said, need explorers that are willing to push beyond mankind's steps here on Earth.
Yeah, the earliest participants in the space program actually came from the Langley Research Center in your neck of the woods.
That's amazing. All right, I'm now excited to see what happens. We'll keep an eye on this. I'd love to have you come back on the program as we get closer and closer. And again, you never know. My grandkids one day might take a vacation on the moon. It would be completely blowing my mind. But if you think how technology has jumped in my short lifetime, it's not beyond the realm of possibility. So thank you so much for just giving us a little insight of what's going on at NASA.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. I'll be glad to come back.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Jim Geoffrey joining us from NASA right now. How about that? Could you see your kids? Maybe not your kids, your great grandkids, your great grandkids one day. Like, hey, what are you going to do this? What are you going to do this summer? Are you going to go to Disney World? No, we're going to go to the moon. It would be truly amazing. All right. Today's program is brought to you in part by your friends at Pearson Signature Dealerships. That Pearson promise is just sitting there.